Welcome to She Said,
Let's, where we usually chat the highs and lows of the business of film and TV.
shine a light on women who empower us.
And dish on plot twists in our lives we just had to say let's to.
However, in today's episode, if you can't tell, which you literally cannot tell, but we're going to be showing you, this is going to be a hint to what we are doing today. We are doing things a bit differently. We told you we were going to start doing some different kinds of episodes, and we are coming through on those different kinds of episodes. And this is the perfect example.
And that is why it's just Kay and I today, because this is Girly Pop's Talk Culture. There we go.
People love to say girly pop nowadays.
I've been saying girly pop.
Same. I've been saying girly pop for forever. I've been calling my friends girl. I'm like,
Girly
what's up,
pop.
girly pop.
I call men girly pop too. I think it's kind of fun.
Well,
It's like a fun little bit.
Yeah, I love calling men
My little
girls.
girly pops.
Yeah, sweetheart, honey. You know, as some of you may know, my favorite podcast is Las Culturistas, which is hosted by the hilarious Matt Rogers and Bowen Yang. And I've been a fan of this for years and always wanted to chat about some of the things that they chat about in their podcast. So I thought, why not now that we're doing some different kinds of episodes?
Yeah, and we're going to try to keep this as like within a similar format of other episodes that we've done before, just with a little pop culture twist and some of the segments that you already know and you love. So, shall we?
We shall.
I also have wine.
Watch if it just shatters.
I just switched out this cart too. Do you mean the glass or my pen?
No, this.
Oh.
You hit it with the plastic part. I needed this. You know, I really did. Needed a sipper.
A little sipper.
Yeah. I was gonna say I can hear you.
Yeah, that's a ASMR.
Well, speaking of Las Culturistas, they ask each of their guests, which Hannah knows because I made her listen to several episodes, what the culture was that made them say culture was for them growing up. And the listeners may be aware of this segment already, but in today's context, it feels kind of similar to that question, although we are not copying them. I would like to say that no. Will Ferrell's company. We are not. We're not doing that. And I am, of course, talking about
Let's Go Back.
So this segment obviously came from an obsession that I had with behavioral psychology as a kid. I find that a lot of my art and creations come from a memory or an event of the past.
However, for today, it will be an event in pop culture or someone who influenced us as a kid. This could be any types of roles that I like to play or how Kay, like what she likes to write.
Yeah, so we're switching it up. So, Han, would you like to start with the first thing that really affected you in pop culture when you were growing up into the artist that you are today?
I think sketch shows as a whole, even the like childhood sketch shows. So the Amanda Show, all that, Saturday Night Live, Kenan and Kel, like everything like that has shaped my love for comedy and why I think I wanted to get into the entertainment space in general. Saturday Night Live being a huge thing, which I've talked about so many different times on this podcast. But I mean, also the Amanda Show and all that kind of made it real because it was similar style, but it was child actors that were doing it. So it was like, oh, I could do this. And then I just thought of little bits growing up that I used to do with friends and like around our neighborhood, because we would play outside as children. So I think those are like sketch shows and child sketch shows whenever I was growing up were like the bread and butter of my start of my love for comedy.
What a foreign concept, playing outside.
I know.
As kids.
I know. It's crazy.
Well, since you said that one, I will just go into because I actually put all that as well. I want to mind, so I'm going to skip around. So that I can so I'm going to say something that may be controversial. And to me, sketches are scenes. Okay. They're a scene. And I know that anyone who has ever ever taken a UCV class would be like, no, they're not. They're games. That's what they fucking call them. They call them games. And I get it, but to me, a scene feels like a game. And even though I write TV pilots and whatnot, and it's a larger scheme towards a bigger part of the story, I try to think of like a beginning, middle, and end to each of my scenes as well, even if it's not a closed end. And even with my sketches, I try and think of is it possible to end in a way that doesn't feel clean? That feels like I'm actually still interested in these people, and oh damn, I wish that was longer or something, or they gave me more of that. So I think similar to what you said, the kids who performed seemed like real people to me.
Yeah.
Like and there were a lot of, there were a lot of kid performers, and there were a lot of like Disney Channel stars and whatnot during the time when we were growing up, but those felt like stars. You know what I mean?
They were like our celebrities growing up.
Right, but all that just felt like it could be like the kid who lives like next to me.
Yeah.
Like, so it felt more, I think, attainable, that like of course you grow up, and I was dancing like Britney Spears and trying to be her and stuff, but did I actually really think I was going to be Britney Spears? Probably not. Of course I dreamed that I was.
Oh, absolutely. You're standing in front of your mirror as a kid, like performing
yeah.
and dancing and lip syncing to all of her songs, or you're doing an acceptance speech in the shower.
Right. But I'm saying, like, in my brain, what was more realistic to me was that I could be a kid on all that.
Right.
Because it just felt like it was easy for me to sit in my room and write my little sketches. And, I, unlike Hannah, did not have anybody to play with and do these sketches with. I would try all the time to get my cousins to do them or someone to do them with me, and they would not, but I could still write them, and they still existed, in my little notepads and all that jazz. But yeah, so I think now it's just kind of like full circle for me that I am writing and directing for a sketch show, because I always pictured I would be in them when I was younger, and I didn't really know. I think because I didn't know the entertainment industry, I was like, oh, these kids are writing these, which obviously
it's adults.
They were not.
I know. I think I thought the same thing. I was like, whoa, these are like kids behind all of this show. It's like, no, there are adults behind the camera. Yeah. There are adults that are writing everything for them and like helping them with scenes and everything. So yeah.
What was your next one?
Another one that I wrote on here. This is a really important one for me that I really am so excited to talk about: the Nintendo GameCube. Oh yeah, we're throwing it way back. The Nintendo motherfucking GameCube, baby. I was obsessed.
Hannah, I'm not gonna lie. What is this?
You don't know what the Nintendo GameCube is?
Is it the one that you pull out and you go, or no?
I mean, you
what is
could
that
do that. It's a like PlayStation, like old time thing. It's not actually PlayStation, but it's a cube.
Girly.
It's a cube, and it's like a video game.
Well, I
console.
know, but which one is it? Is what I'm saying. Like, I had a Nintendo. I had the little colorful one that you had that you could carry around with you.
No, you don't carry it around. It's literally something that you attach to. It's called the GameCube.
Yeah, I don't know if I know what that is. I had an Xbox. I had a PlayStation. I had the Nintendo that you put the little things in, and then when they get dusty or whatever, you have to pull it out and you blow on them. But I don't know what that is called.
It
had like Duck Hunt. It had like
pull
Mario.
Up the GameCube. Oh wait, I know what that is.
Mario Kart.
Yeah.
There was all sorts of shit that you could play on this one. Nope, I never had this.
You never had a Nintendo GameCube?
No.
What?
I had a Wii. I
had a Wii as well, but the real ones know what a Nintendo GameCube is.
Okay, you tell me what.
So I used to play The Legend of Zelda, and they had a Scooby-Doo game, and oh my god, I think they also had a Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, and there was one other one that I always used to play, and I cannot quite remember what it is, but the three that I would constantly play were The Legend of Zelda, the Scooby-Doo one, because I was obsessed with Scooby-Doo and cartoons, and we'll get into that in a moment. But I think
did you play by yourself, or did your sisters and brother, or your brother and sister play
my
with you?
brother would play with me on their like it was his GameCube for the most part. He would be the one to play the games. Then I would then go in and play those with him, or my best friend, who I consider my sister Brooke growing up, her and I would always play GameCube. Like we would be the ones playing the Scooby-Doo game and the Legend of Zelda. We were hooked on those two. And I think playing those really made my mind roam into these different worlds and different realms to really catapult my imagination to so many different places. And that kind of stepped in and helped the growth of my creativity, I think. And it also helped with us just like playing games as kids. It just made us more creative into thinking of different worlds that we wanted to step into and different characters we wanted to be.
Yeah, and how to problem solve.
Correct.
Too, you know what I mean?
Correct.
Or what challenges you
had
may
to fight all the bad guys.
You know? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
How will you
a lot of logical tactics.
How will you get into the castle? Who knows?
Listen, we're learning street smarts.
Yeah, by not being on the streets. By
playing
these hypothetical
Nintendo
streets.
GameCube. Okay. What's your next one?
It's the Diva mixtapes. And some of you might be like, I don't know what the fuck this is, because I will say that this was something that normal children probably didn't have. I just had a certain exposure to it. And I feel like I might have mentioned this, but I have no idea what episode. Now that we've got so many episodes, I'm like, I feel like I remember stuff I say, but I don't know which episode it was in anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Which just means that we're really getting there, guys.
Go back and check,
you know
everybody.
What I mean? Yeah, just listen to everything and tell me what it is. So my mom's best friend, Ricky, owned like one of the biggest gay bars in West Michigan. And if you don't know anything about gay bars in the 90s, they obviously didn't have Spotify and all these type of playlists and stuff. So what they would do was they would get from local DJs who would remix different songs of like divas. They would get CDs that were burned that had like remixes, like dance remixes of like every song you could possibly imagine of like Whitney Houston and Toni Braxton and Madonna and all these things that you would never find on the radio, or you would never know where to get it from. And I was never a person who liked to listen to the radio. Like I cannot stand having to. I'm always like, I mention this all the time, and maybe it's because I had ADHD. I'm like, I could tell you how many times we've heard a repeat song like in like a week or something. I'd be like,
on the radio?
Yes. I've heard this one 7 times in the past 2 days, you know, probably because I would like obsess. It irritates me.
That was me. I still, at my parents' house, I still have burnt discs of CDs that my sister and I made, and like different CDs that we've collected over the course of the years.
Yeah.
Because we hated listening to the radio.
Yeah. I would always be the person who was like hitting all the buttons that were preset or whatever to see like which one didn't have something and which one had like a newer song on it. But anyways, so I was that person, so I needed these mixtapes and or mix CDs, whatever it would be. And you know, I love the feelings that like a big ballad gives you, but at the same time, I feel like just the essence of me is always into more like upbeat jams because I like feed off of the energy of whatever a song is. So like if I'm listening to something that's super sad, I could almost like cry, you know, and like I wanna be happy in my car. So I was so shocked when I heard songs like Unbreak My Heart by Toni Braxton or I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston had versions with like upbeat backtracks, because those songs emote so much like emotion in someone, and you know they sound when they're singing it like they are like on the verge of tears. And so I think what always attracted me to these remixes was the thought of like reimagining something, like taking something that you know you love one way and then making it different and saying, oh my god, I still love this in a different way. And that's what we can do with like all of our projects now. You know, I can have a certain script that maybe I thought was a comedy, that I take a lot of the comedic elements out of it and throw in a murder or something, and now it's a drama or like a Clues drama, and I can still love it that way too, with the same characters and often the same kinds of dialogue in it. think that a song can like fit a mood or emotion too that that person wants to feel that day. And so it really just taught me that to see things in different ways, and that everything, even if it's amazing to start off with, can be like malleable. And so you don't have to like stay stagnant in the way that one creation was versus another. You know?
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I really tried to think of the psychology behind why I like these remixes. What is your next one?
Okay. Cartoons. As mentioned before, I watched a lot of cartoons growing up as well. Like, whenever I wasn't outside with friends, I would.
You still love cartoons?
I do. I still love cartoons. I love SpongeBob. I still love Scooby Doo. I love Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Rugrats, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Fairly Odd Parents. Shout out Chip Skylark. You know, all of these. I think one also kind of played into my love for comedy because they started like all of them had a comedic aspect to it, but they also told a story. Each episode was so different, but they were so like short that the story really it dragged you in a little bit, or it can drag you in, and there's so much thought behind cartoons and animation. And I think even from a young age, I've always appreciated the art that went behind that, because it is so much. Like, there's color analysis behind it. You have to draw out everything and make sure that like it's almost like stop motion, but not stop motion, because you have to make sure everything's lined up. And even whenever I was in high school, I took an animation class to learn more about the process behind animation and television and film. And I remember
your classes were so much cooler than every time you're like, oh, I took this class in high school. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
We had
nothing cool.
You have to keep in mind, this was my senior year. I fucked off and took elective classes.
I know, but I'm just saying those weren't even
they weren't even options.
They didn't even exist when I went to school. Like, you said something about like photography or something. We didn't have anything.
Oh, like yeah, that. We had a digital photography class. We had a graphic design and digital design, television and film and writing class. I am lucky, in the high school that I went to had actually, like, looking back, a lot of options for the arts.
Yeah,
which
that's what I'm here to tell you.
Also helped.
I keep hearing that.
That also helped me, but I think watching all of these cartoons from a young age, and even I remember watching South Park with my parents and my brother and sister whenever I was like 5 in a hotel. Simpsons. And like, The Simpsons was a huge one. Family Guy, American Dad. I would say everything on Adult Swim I would watch with my older brother and sister, and I think that also like helped develop my love for all like the gross and weird raunchy comedy that I also appreciate, and the dark humor that I love. And
you're really silly, and so I feel like cartoons are like goofy, silly,
funny. It also helps with my voice acting stuff, because I from a young age would like mock these characters and just try to not necessarily mock, but try to, mimic their voices. And now as an adult, I mean, I still do that, and it just helps with the voice acting aspect of my career. So yeah. What about you?
Okay, I'm going to talk about TRL and music video countdowns in general. So I was trying to think of like, why did I love TRL so much, besides the fact that like everybody loved TRL, obviously. But I'm competitive as fuck. Okay. And 2, I love a list. And that is literally just a competitive list. That's all TRL is.
Oh, they need to bring TRL back.
I know. I love that shit. I couldn't wait to see, oh my God, so-and-so. And I would remember the things too. I go, oh my God, Brittany was at number 4 yesterday. Now she's at number 2. She's dropped down to 6 the next day. Like, whatever it is. And I don't even know how they were making these fucking things. I don't know if I think people were calling in.
TRL is like today's Billboard. I know Billboard probably existed, but I feel like TRL was so much bigger. So like, if you were on the TRL list,
I literally thought you meant a billboard, bitch.
I'm like, no, fucking A, dude. Are you kidding me?
I was like, where are you going with this? How?
No,
How
like
is
the
this-
Billboard music charts. Jesus
they
Christ.
definitely had those then, but I don't think that
She used to work in music.
Okay, but this is the issue though. It's that we didn't have the internet, Hannah. So where would we access Billboard? We wouldn't be.
Well,
able
that's
to.
what I'm saying. Like that
we would have
TRL
to-
then is like today's.
We would just have to get Rolling Stone, and Rolling Stone had the Billboard charts on it or whatever. I know because I
Exactly.
used to get a bunch of Rolling Stone. However, TRL was every day, so you could Rolling Stone. You know, they can only come out with an issue or however
You can keep
many
up with
times. Yeah, but anyways, so I had music videos on constantly in the background whenever I was doing anything, whether that be I would check like VH1, we had VH1 2, and then like obviously MTV, and then I think I had like some other weird channel that I cannot remember what the fuck it was called now, but it did play music videos. And then sometimes honestly, if you would go to like ABC Family, sometimes they would have like music video countdowns of like younger kids,
It was
artists
like
and stuff.
Kids Bop.
Yeah, but like cooler. Also, I will say that anybody in this world will tell you that Hannah just walked in and I had a music video playlist.
Most of the time,
in the background.
Anytime I walk into her house, she always has some sort of music playing, whether it be from her phone or music videos playing from her TV. Even whenever we go on trips, music is always on, which I appreciate.
Right, but the music videos in particularly I love. Right. I need like a visual stimulation of some kind. And I know sometimes I'm better at like having it on and paying attention still to whatever's going on. But Hannah was like, you got to shut this off.
Yeah,
I can't hear you. I don't know what you're saying. Cause she hyper fixates on stuff. Whereas I like a lot of shit going on around me at all times. It's almost like if there isn't a bunch of shit going on around me at all times, I can't concentrate at all, which doesn't make any sense. I realize.
Not me.
You know?
Not me.
So music videos. Why did I like them so much? It gave me ideas for fashion. It helped me learn how to mimic voices, as Hannah was just talking about, but mine was for singing voices at the time. It gave me shots to see. It made coloring really important to me. It made hair really important to me. It made makeup really important to me. It made movement in dance like really important to me. And fuck it, I love a dance. There's nothing in this life that I love more than a dance break. Routine. A dance break. As soon as I hear it, I was just listening to Janet Jackson's All For You, and you can always hear just a tiny pause in the music, and every single time I go dance break, and then all of a sudden the fucking beat drops and you could just hear this, and then they always have to bring it back into the song. And that was something that was very specific to like the 90s, early 2000s. They don't really do that anymore because no one really dances like that anymore, which I resent. Okay.
People should dance like that.
They should. So everything that I've ever loved in my life is in a music video. And that is why they are in this list. Moving on.
I mean, to kind of follow up from that, I did write MTV music videos / reality TV down on mine. So if we're talking, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand because it's all MTV related. So I think just MTV as a whole influenced me and my art. And I think the music videos is kind of similar vibe. I enjoy music and I have a strong love, which I think we both have talked about this so many times. Both of us hold a really strong love for both music as well as television and film. They both intertwine for us so deeply. We've both worked in music. We work in TV and film. We still both kind of, I mean, I work in music right now, and it's
not I. See you later.
different parts of the music industry now for me, a better part.
Yes.
But that in itself shaped my career because of my love for it in general. And then also just the creative aspect. There's so much work that goes into the music video and setting the scene for a song to tell a story behind the lyrics itself. And even like a lot of people say that sometimes the music video doesn't really go with the song sometimes, even though if you look closely at it and you really look at all of the little Easter eggs and the different details and really listen to the lyrics, it always goes with the song.
Hannah, it doesn't always
Doesn't
go
always,
with the
but for the
song,
most part,
okay?
like not this, not
Like,
okay. For the most part, it typically
a
does.
lot of time. There's a lot of subliminal messaging, is what I think you're
Yes,
trying to say.
Thank you.
But sometimes it literally doesn't make any sense, and that is infuriating, which I get. But it's more rare, I would say.
Yeah. And then for the reality TV shows, I'm thinking more so on the lines of like early 2000s, like Silent Library, Parental Controls, Next, like the obviously scripted MTV reality shows that were just so fucking outlandish and funny.
Would never be allowed nowadays.
It would never be allowed nowadays. But even the descriptions like that they would put on Next for, I remember I had one saved on my phone.
I wish
that was like chicken nugget lover.
I wish I could have written them.
Right?
Like, I would love
That's what
that
I'm saying. The shit that they came up with just within the descriptions of the people, even parental controls and the backstory and coming up with these dates and my super sweet 16 and all of like the insane shit that would go on. Oh, even Room Raiders. Do you remember Room Raiders?
That was so fake.
Oh my, all of it. Yeah. All of it was for sure scripted, but like it's so entertaining to watch. And also
we were like kids, and I remember, I don't know why, I was like, ooh, I wonder if they have any stains on their bed when they have like a black light. I was like a child. I was literally thinking, oh, they're eating in their bed and they're spilling and shit. No, bitch, come. That's what we're talking about here. No clue. No clue what they were doing. I was like, ooh, get the black lights out. It's
oh my God. Wonder what they've been eating.
Spilling pop all in their fucking sheets. Like, who knows? I don't know.
No, bitch. But I think those really, everything there, specifically Silent Library, just because it was so funny that. And I love a good bit. And it's just a show full of good bits. That and Next, those two. Because of the descriptions, those helped. Most of the things that I'm going to talk about have more so influenced my comedy and like the comedic side of my brain.
Yeah. Well, I will say overall that the 90s and the early 2000s were a much more joyous time than now. So I think that's why some of these things influence your comedy. I feel like now we're getting, even the comedy that we're getting is so dark, which I love, because it's like we're growing with it. So my next one is probably one of the biggest things that I was obsessed with when I was younger.
Okay.
Was Mary, Kate, and Ashley. And I pretty much once a year, I will say to the abyss, whatever, to social media, I will say, where are these movies? Where are they? Where are all the movies? Give them to me. Okay. Put them on a streaming service. Do I really? I was an idiot. I lost all my VHSs and DVDs. Okay. I didn't keep them. I'm dumb. It's my fault. But where are they? Can I please buy them? Like, they don't even exist anywhere. It's crazy. They locked them up in a vault and they're gone. They have like a couple that are out sometimes, but those aren't the ones I want. I want the ones like from when they were itty bitty little. Like fucking Brother for Sale, and like went to the mall and
you
have
can't
a sleepover.
Find those anywhere?
No, dude, I have searched the world for them. Okay.
eBay?
Yeah, but I think I can buy a VHS or something, so then I would have to like get a VHS player.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm saying like it doesn't exist. I can't buy it on like Amazon or like Apple or something like that and like have a digital version. They don't exist.
That's like Drop Dead Gorgeous. You couldn't find that anywhere. I still think you can't find it anywhere.
Well, I don't care as much about that as I do about Mary, these MK Kate and Ash. Okay, so twins. Okay. Twins are literally the opposite of onlys, which is what I am. So therefore they fascinated me. And they still fascinate me. They also kind of freak me out because they feel like DNA clones of one person. Like, I'm not sure where the other person comes in. They just feel like they're together for some reason. So they were also blonde hair, blue eyed, token white girls, which is what everyone wanted to look like at the time, which I looked basically nothing like. but instead I insisted upon trying to mimic looking like them. They also made it cool to like match with your friends, which is something that Hannah and I love to do still to this day. Like every time, even with this podcast, I'm always trying to find stuff that are like comes in like a couple different colors or something that we can like play off of, and we can each compliment, you know, like her blonde hair and my red hair, and but be wearing the same thing essentially. So I love matching. I don't have that weird thing where like, you know, that trope in like movies for like teenage girls and stuff where they're like,
oh yeah,
she
well,
showed
one
up
of us
in
is
the-
gonna have to change.
She showed up in the same thing as me. Put a sweater over this, babe, or like whatever the fuck it is. I actually like to match, except for if it's with someone that I hate, obviously. Then sure. But I will say that the mysteries when I was young were my favorite that they had in their movies. They would always have like these crazy like clue things where they would have like a missing so and so or something, and they would have to like find it in a castle or wherever the fuck it was. But also, I think that something that Mary Kate and Ashley did really well was diversify their brand, which I think that not a lot of people have been able to do as well since then. And maybe it was just also the fact that they like, I think they own Dual Star or something, which was like the company that like made a lot of their stuff, like the production company, or their family owned it or something. So they kind of had more control over what they were able to make and what they weren't, which nowadays is not really a thing. If many people know in film and TV, you know, when once people see you being really good at one thing, whether it be comedy or a certain type of movie or something, they're going to want you to do that forever. And they're not going to give you money to do anything else. But because I think Mary Kate and Ashley kind of like owned a lot of this stuff, they were able to do it. So they had like girly sleepover movies, they had mall trips like with their friends, they highlighted their siblings and things like Brother for Sale, so they had like family stories in that case. They also had crazy boy adventures, you know, where they would like try and hook up with certain boys in different cities, or they went to Passport to Paris and they were trying to hook up with people there. You know, movie. They had missing like they had spooky shit like in Hocus Pocus. Like they literally did every type of movie and or every type of show, even that was like on ABC Family or whatever it was. Like they did everything. And wouldn't that be a dream for someone who acts to be able to do literally everything that you would ever want to do?
They were the it girls. And now, well, even their sister Elizabeth, their younger sister,
amazing actress.
Fucking incredible. Yeah. And she has so much depth and so much range within her. Like she can do comedy, she can do dramatic, she can do drama well.
Right, but she might not have the same opportunity that they had, you know, being able to choose what she wanted to do back then.
Correct, but it just goes to show the fucking insane genetics of that family.
Yeah, that's true. Trent didn't get him, apparently, the brother that was for sale. They sold him down the river. Now he's gone.
Off. It's not like a Culkins.
But so there was a lesson in all of this to me in knowing that I didn't have to be one type of girl that cared about one type of thing, or could tell one type of story. My life had obviously all different facets to it, and I could write about them all because Mary Kate and Ashley said that I could. And that part that made me kind of sad was that I didn't have an Ashley. Like, because I always thought I was Mary Kate. So, like, when I was, like, with my friends, I'd be like, you're the Ashley. Because I was such a tomboy growing up. I was not girly at all. But I guess as an adult now, I realize that I have a million different Ashleys that I put in my scripts. You know, Hannah is one of my Ashleys. So, my Ashleys can be men as well.
That's true.
So, that's that.
Bringing it back a little bit again. The pop culture teen magazines, J14, Teen Vogue. What was the other one? I was blanking on the name.
Tiger Beat.
Tiger Beat. Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. I would get all of my posters from those. I feel like.
What were your walls like? Tell me about your walls.
I mean, I'll insert some pictures on social media. But
I want to know.
My parents have not changed my bedroom at all since I moved out. It has been the same since we moved into this house.
So it still has posters all on it.
Oh, yeah, there are posters, there are pictures. My One Direction posters are still up on the wall with Zayn crossed out on them.
I love Zayn.
He
my
left.
Favorite. He's my favorite.
Niall girl forever. Niall Horan. Bang my line.
She likes the Irishman.
Luck of the Irish. It was St. Patrick's Day yesterday. Won't be when this is released, but you know, life is crazy.
It almost looks like green beer. It's not, but it does.
Are you going to stop Snape from getting that stone or not?
Now 2 episodes you will have said that in. 2 in a row.
Ooh, it'll make it onto social media in some way, shape, or form. Okay, back to my J14 Tiger Beat Teen Vogue magazine spiel. I think those, like reading those kind of made it more accessible of a reality. I really think that it just fed my delusions as a child to be like, I can fucking do this. And then it was just like, I made the decision whenever I was 5 that I was like, I'm gonna be an actress. I'm going to live in Los Angeles. And I think that had a lot to do with the fucking.
You were like, my favorite food is also pizza. So and my favorite color is also pink.
It
so
must be
fine.
The invisible string theory.
Yeah, 100%.
Crazy. Yeah. But yeah, I think that those just kind of made it a little bit more accessible and also just more fun for me as a child to see other like kids my age living out this dream and this fantasy that I thought was so unattainable. And I think like even seeing Christina Aguilera, like she's a girl that's from Pennsylvania, and seeing her succeed and do like the Mickey Mouse Club and become this insane pop icon that she is. I mean, even to this day, it's like, okay, if she is from small town fucking Pennsylvania.
I know. I really liked it though when they did like those little interviews where it was like, "What's your favorite color? Who's your celebrity crush? What's your favorite food? Whatever."
It also just it made it feel like they were your friends.
Yeah, I want to know that stuff about them.
Yeah,
you know. Well, my next one is a little bit to do with something that would be in these magazines, which is famous couples. Okay.
Oh.
So y'all know that I am a Libra because we've talked about it a million times. But there is nothing more that I love than aesthetics. Okay. And when I say that, it can mean a lot of things, right? So by that, in this case, I am talking about how 2 people look together. Okay. So it's actually a semi-issue for me, and Hannah knows because I talk about it whenever I have a new person that I possibly like. But I need to find a potential partner that I like how they look with me. Okay. And that's not even, we need to complement each other in some way. And if we don't, then I feel like I cannot be with this person. In this case, it does not mean that the person has to be conventionally good looking. Okay. So I'm not saying like, oh, I need somebody really hot that like looks good next to me or something. I'm actually saying they complement next to the other person, right? So sometimes this means 2 people who look like a bit opposite from one another. So maybe in this case, it would be more like J-Lo and P. Diddy. Okay. So their bodies, if they were wearing nothing, which is a sight to see, I'm sure, they don't look alike, right? But, however, they match one another's energy of like who they were as artists, and also they match each other's fits as who they were as artists. So during the time when like J-Lo was dating P. Diddy, she leaned more into like her Fly Girl era, and she wore things that were a little bit more like R&B looking or less I would say less glam. Or sometimes, when he would be in like a really nice suit or something, she would be in like a crazy ball gown. So they're even though their bodies are different and they have different looks, they knew how to complement each other as far as like in styles go. And that made them look really cool together. I will say it could also mean that these 2 people look like one another, because usually when people look like one another, they kind of look good together. You know what I mean? So this could be like Aaron Carter and Hilary Duff. They both have like blonde hair. They both look like little teeny boppers. I'm not saying that they look like siblings necessarily, but they have a lot of the same features that look alike. So together, they look good.
I was just about to
Together.
reference the account siblings are dating right after you said that.
Yeah.
Because of
But sometimes
sometimes it works.
Sometimes it does
Sometimes it
work.
works.
You know what I mean? It could also be that the two people in this instance have the same trendy type of style that they can pull off, and they're like confident enough in who they are as artists or whatever it may be that they can pull off like really wild looks that a lot of other people couldn't. And in this case, I'm thinking of like Britney and Justin. Both of them separately would wear like really crazy shit, but when they were able to dress the most wild, where if Britney and or Justin had shown up in like some of the looks that they came in as a couple when they were separated, people would have been like, this is the tackiest outfit I've ever seen. But because they were able to do it together, it was iconic and it looks good together, right? And so I think I it doesn't matter to me if the person is attractive to me on their own. I am thinking about how will we look together? And is that malleable or not? You know what I mean? Because unfortunately, you can't teach style. Like you can't teach someone how to have style. You can dress someone for them, but I'm talking about style is a particular thing that's like ingrained in you. That's part of your creativity. And it can change when you're with somebody else because they can affect how you feel about yourself or what you're willing to wear or not wear. But unfortunately, I need somebody who either matches something about me. It could be an opposite of me, it could be looking like me, it could be a style of mine or what have you. But if none of those things are ticked off, then I can't do it.
I have to disagree with you on that. I feel like style can be taught sometimes.
No, fashion can be taught. Style is not fashion. Style is in you. Style doesn't even have to do with the clothes you're wearing. Style has to do with
everything.
How you wear the clothes. Really.
How you present yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because style is also like thinking about any tiny thing that has to sort like these. This is different. This is part of my style. But the last thing that I had to say was the Scholastic Book Fair. Okay. Every goddamn penny I ever had growing up went to this fucking book fair.
Accurate. I have to agree with that. The Scholastic
Like,
Book Fair was like the day of the year.
Shit. It was amazing.
Everyone looked forward to.
I couldn't wait.
Do they still do?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they do.
Why would they ever stop the Scholastic Book Fair?
I don't, because nobody fucking reads books anymore, Hannah.
Yeah,
okay, like I remember we would get like a little catalog and shit.
Yeah.
And I would go through beforehand, and I would like circle all the stuff that I like wanted, and I would even calculate like how much I thought certain things were going to be, so I could see like how many things I could get, and then I would have backup books just in case like those other books weren't available that I first wanted. Yeah. So I knew what, because you had to scram when you got in there. It was almost like
it was like a fucking my god, that was like a shit show. that was the Black Friday for children.
It was. And so I'm almost certain that I would read about 100 books a year, and I would make lists, of course, shocking, of all the books that I had read. And when I would hit like a certain amount, my mom would actually buy me more books. So like my gift for reading was more books. Yeah. Which was awesome.
More reading.
Yeah.
You still make those lists.
I know, I really do. But now they're digital. Mind you, the books were way smaller back then. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you could read several books in a day, sometimes like kids' books and stuff. And so I can't stress enough that I wanted to live somewhere else than I lived. Okay. And that was why I was like, I did not want to be in my reality. So that's why I was reading all these goddamn books to like escape reality, obviously. I was so fucking bored all the time. I was always constantly bored. Like I didn't live a day in my life when I wasn't bored. I still don't live a day in my life where I'm not bored in some way. And so the reading of these books, like, you know, took me, like, expanded my mind to places that I had never been to, that I didn't know, because I really didn't travel a lot when I was younger. My parents never like took me on trips or anything like that. And so I I dreamt of these places then, and I felt like my imagination like grew and grew until finally I could create my own from scratch, my own places, which is now kind of what I do. Of course, a lot of my scripts and stuff are based more in reality, but that was where it all came from, was just building up all of these different areas in my brain with these books while my young mind was growing, you know?
Yeah.
So, Gorge.
The culture
that shaped us.
I miss the Scholastic Book Fair.
I miss all these things.
I know.
Life is so sad now.
I feel like, even anytime I go home, I kind of feel like a little kid sometimes,
especially
especially now
nostalgic.
That it is really nostalgic because, especially now that I have my nephew and the other one on the way, it like brings out your inner child. As any listener of the pod knows, we love a game.
We do love a game. And today we're going to do a spin on our segment,
Let's plot it out.
Where this time we're going to plot out the personal lives of some of our favorite celebrities in the 90s to 2000s era. And this will not be about the projects they were in. As normally, sometimes we do celebrities and we'll pick them out and be like, they be in this movie, they be in that movie. We're not doing that today. Today, we are talking about them as human beings. So this could be anything that they've done in their personal lives, people they've dated, trouble they've got into, things that made the headlines, whatever it may be. Yes, we're going to feed into the gossip. We're going to be Perez.
We're chit-chatting.
Perez Hilton.
We're yapping.
Yeah. So, of course, you know the mailbox. Here it is. It has the names of several celebrities in it. And we are going to be picking out of here.
What's the timing that we're doing? Are we doing 45 seconds?
Yeah. All right. Hannah will, of course, be going first because she hates it.
I do.
Are you ready? And
someone I know. Oh, Sarah Michelle Gellar got her start in, I believe, the early to late 90s. Oh my God, she's been in so many different things. Like,
well, but you're not saying
I know
that.
I don't have to say that. But she did fall in love with Freddie Prinze Jr. whenever they were on the set of, was it Cruel Summer or She's All That? I can't quite remember. He's All That. She's All That? He's All That. She's All That. I can't quite remember which set they fell in love on, but they also have done so many different projects together. They're married now with children. She really has not been in any sort of like drama within film and TV that I'm aware of, but she was also a badass Buffy the Vampire Slayer and is a fucking icon, and her and Freddie Prinze Jr.'s marriage is literally my bread and butter. This is where I shine.
Except for you didn't say anything except for she's with Freddie Prinze Jr.
She does not have any drama. She is one of the most chill, like non-problematic people. All right, ready?
All right, I got Kristen Cavallari. I have so much that I can say about her. Okay, well, obviously she got her start in reality TV, and so basically everything is about her personal life, technically, because it has nothing to do with her acting or anything. However, she does have a jewelry brand. She moved to Chicago for a long time because she was with Jay Cutler, I believe it is. He was kind of a dick, honestly, is kind of a dick.
Nashville.
No, they lived in Chicago first because he played for the Chicago Bears. Don't interrupt. I only have a certain number of seconds.
I'll give you 5 more.
So then they moved to Nashville. That's when she started her jewelry brand, and they have several kids there that live together because then he kind of retired or whatever the fuck, and he was just fucking around on like a farm and doing basically nothing. And they ended up getting divorced, and now she's dating someone who's like 23 years old and plays college football, even though she's like 32. I don't remember where he's from, but he is very hot. And her and Steven got back together for like a tiny amount of time in the middle of that. Yeah. I always wanted her and Steven to be together, really.
Honestly, even still to this day, I kind of wish that they would have gotten together.
I know. Same. There's still time. Go.
Oh my God, Brendan Urie. Holy shit. Okay, lead singer of Panic at the Disco. Married to Sarah Urie. I think he has a baby on the way. Or did they already have the baby? Either way, one of the two. They either have a baby or they have a baby on the way still. But he, born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. Oh my God, this guy got his start, I believe, as a smoothie maker from what I remember. I think he worked in like a smoothie bar. I fucking love Panic at the Disco and I love Brendan Urie. Such a musical talent. But I believe he got his start at either a smoothie bar or a milkshake bar, and he would sing to the customers. And that's kind of where he got his start singing. Yes. Did you not know this? Yeah. And yeah, then Panic at the Disco was formed in Las Vegas and played Warped Tour and toured all over the world.
Yeah.
No longer. Panic is done now, you know. Sad day. He's a dad now.
I know. We can still listen to the old stuff. It's fine. Okay. Ready?
Ready?
Yes.
Go.
Ben Affleck. I said Affleck. I meant Affleck. Well, of course, we know that he dated J-Lo back in the day, and they had to break up because of how big of a couple they were back in this day. And now they are together once more, which I love. Boston Boy, besties with Matt Damon, had a reality show, Project Greenlight, for a while that has a brother, Casey Affleck, who got really big in about approximately 2 movies, and then kind of Manchester by the Sea, and then kind of disappeared. Is kind of an alcoholic, married the other Jennifer for a while, had some kids, smokes a lot of cigarettes, loves Dunkin' Donuts.
I love that you ended with smokes a lot of cigarettes, loves Dunkin' Donuts.
You had to say that. I didn't care that you said stop. I said, I got to get Dunkin' in here. I gotta get Dunkin' in here.
Gotta get the Dunkin'.
Yep. Must. At this point, I almost feel like we should do a minute because we're both like,
yeah, let's
you know
do it.
Yeah.
Literally, can I pick a different one? Because I know nothing about Leanne Rimes.
Oh my God, that's such a good one.
Can I put it back in and pick a different one?
Yeah.
Because I know nothing.
Well, I know so much, and she has so much drama in her life. It's crazy. Okay, ready?
Shania Twain.
Well, look at that. Look at that.
Man, I feel like a woman.
Tell us.
Okay, Shania, Canadian princess. We love her. Born and raised in Canada, but she has a song about, I think she talks about like Cleveland, Ohio or something, Ohio, or Columbus, Ohio. I don't fucking know. But came up in, I believe, the early to late 90s in like in country music, not in like country music, in country music, but she is technically considered country pop, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but I believe she is in the Country Music Hall of Fame or some sort of Hall of Fame, but she is a fucking icon, a female icon. She really opened the doors for, I think, women in music to really break barriers, and she was always the one person to really defy social norms within the, music realm in general, because she just...
Her husband cheated on her with like her best friend.
I didn't know that.
She stayed married to him for a little bit too. I watched a whole documentary on her. You should watch it. It's like on Showtime.
Really?
I learned so much shit about her. It was crazy. And there's also like a movie made about her that like stars somebody else too about her life. I need to watch that.
Okay,
still.
I need to watch. Okay,
yeah.
Well, we love Shania in this house. I had no idea about that though. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was really sad. She was dealing with it like when she was like at the height of her, because I'm pretty sure that her husband was the same guy that she either wrote or produced music with, who was cheating on her when they were making those huge albums together. And
it's giving Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham.
All these amazing women, with these piece of shit.
Women in music deserve better as well.
These producers, they're ugly as hell. All right, I got Drake Bell. Okay, so Drake Bell started in the Amanda Show, and him and Amanda used to fuck each other on the set of the Amanda Show, which has just become recently.
Go, keep going.
And then he went and he had his own Drake and Josh thing or whatever the fuck with like Miranda Cosgrove and all these things, and then now he decided that he wants to be like Mexican or something, and he went to Mexico and is now Drake Campagna or some bullshit. He like escaped over there. Apparently he was really big in Mexico, and me and Hannah actually saw him at D5 one time.
I forgot about that. We're like, why is Drake Bell here?
The back of his like videos or something. He looked very out of place there. And now he's in the documentary, which is very sad, about the Nickelodeon kids, and apparently he was one of the kids that was abused.
I do want to add on to that. He didn't flee to Mexico because he was big in Mexico. He fled to Mexico because there was an abuse case with him against a woman, or like a couple women, I think.
Wait, no,
there were allegations.
Yeah, that he had abused them is what
Correct.
you're saying. Oh,
And then he fled to Mexico because they love him over there, and that is why he is Drake compadre now. And now he's like a host of some Spanish or Mexican television show. I saw
Telemundo
something. Yes, I was like, oh, okay.
Everybody just thinking they can go to Mexico when they do something wrong, apparently. Go.
Avril motherfucking Lavigne. This bitch was literally my pride and joy growing up. This was the first CD I ever got whenever I was 5. It was an Avril Lavigne Complicated CD, and I will never fucking forget it. It had Skater Boy, it had Complicated, it had all of her like greatest hits, and I carried around a fucking portable CD player to listen to this album. Another Canadian princess, really was like the face of like emo girls in the early 2000s. However, people do think she died in the early 2000s and that Avril Lavigne is not actually Avril Lavigne and it's this girl named Stephanie, which is, I mean, I don't think it's true. I'm pretty sure it's Avril Lavigne, but like, yeah, people think that this is her like doppelganger and that Stephanie was hired on to then impersonate Avril Lavigne because Avril Lavigne is actually dead, even though I don't think that that's the case, but people think Avril Lavigne is dead.
She is dead behind the eyes, I will tell you that. But
now she's dating Tyga.
That doesn't mean dead. Yeah, she's dated a lot of people, actually.
Yeah, was engaged.
Tons. Married, engaged, all sorts of shit.
Crazy.
Okay. Are you ready?
Ready.
Oh, okay. Kirsten Dunst. Okay. Kirsten, I wish you would come back. I mean, I know you're still around, but you were that bitch, I felt like, back in the day. Obviously, Bring It On was a huge influence with me. But also Kirsten, one thing that I loved about her was always on the red carpet. She always just seemed to like smack off to people. Like, I feel like she just, even though she portrayed like this person who was very, maybe, I don't know, quiet and demure or whatever, she just always like didn't really give a shit about what she said to people. I think that she sometimes kept her personal life a little bit more personal, kind of like Sarah Michelle Gellar did. However, I really can't tell you who the fuck she was ever dating. I don't know anything about that. All I know is that her work is phenomenal and that she's done she can do literally everything under the sun. And that I feel like she kind of disappeared for a while after she did all of her big things.
She reminds me of like the OG Aubrey Plaza in her interview style.
Yeah. She just like really does not care.
She just did not give a fuck.
Was like, nah, whatever. Like she didn't even answer the questions. Who is it?
Brad Pitt. One of the many heartthrobs of the early to late 90s and even early 2000s, and still to this day, this man is still fucking gorgeous. He was in a long-term relationship with before Angelina Jolie, Jennifer Aniston, my other queen. Late 90s. I'm pretty sure they were engaged at one point to then where he filmed Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He had allegations where he cheated with Angelina Jolie, and then he went to marry Angelina Jolie, had a couple kids with her, also adopted like 5 kids with her. They still have a lot of children, but they are since divorced. He did a table read over the course of the pandemic for that one movie with Sean Penn. What was it? Good Times at Ridgemont High. And it was like him, Shia LaBeouf. It was him and Jennifer Aniston reuniting on camera for the first time in such a long time. And there was so much tension. It was so like,
sexy.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Oh no. I got Amanda Bynes.
Oh.
And so, okay, Amanda, obviously we've talked about all that. We've talked about the Amanda show. She was such a silly, fun character growing up. She dated she was with Michael Keegan or something. He was like a big person. He was on She's All That back in the day. Obviously she was in that movie with Channing Tatum as well. And she was just like the girl that everyone wanted to be at the Teen Choice Awards and all this shit. And then as soon as she hit like her mid-20s, she started kind of spiraling out of control. We don't know, obviously, everything that was happening to her before then, but I'm sure there was some sort of strange abuse and overworkedness because she's been working since she was 13 years old. And I know that there's some weird shit with her family as well, but I don't know if they ever go completely into the grossness of it.
Stop.
I didn't even talk about her heart tattoo.
I know.
But we must say it.
I know. I actually wrote something later on about Amanda Bynes, so we'll get more in.
Yeah.
We'll get more into Amanda later because I
Yeah.
feel like she's such a she was such a pop culture icon within the early 2000s that I think we need to touch on her more.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about Eminem for a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to pretend like I pulled Eminem out of here because I really just want to talk about him a lot.
Okay, ready? Go.
Yep. Eminem, Marshall Mathers got his start in like the late 90s in Detroit, Michigan, rapping underground. If you've watched 8 Mile, then you know this whole entire story. But this man, his life, oh my God, he's been through so much. He had an absent father, an abusive mother. He was in a really tumultuous relationship with Kim Mathers. He has a daughter named Haley, an adopted daughter who I believe is his niece, named Lainey. He has a brother named Nate. He still lives in Detroit, Michigan. He is my icon. I love him. He's my king. He hasn't really put anything new out in terms of music and rap, but he's still within the music and rap world. He's a producer now, but oh my God, his life story is just so insane. Grew up so crazy, like poor and off so horribly, and then really just like built his way up and found his way and is sober.
All right.
I could talk about Eminem for days.
Yeah, that's why we have to stop you.
I know.
All right, last one. Okay. Who will I get? Okay. Oh, look who I got.
Shut the fuck up. You got Eminem.
Okay. Picking another one. Okay. I got Christina Aguilera, who I'm gonna talk a lot about later, but I guess I'll tell about her backstory right now. Okay, so she grew up in Pennsylvania, in small town Pennsylvania. As you know, Hannah mentioned, she had an abusive father who was not really there for her mother, and they were definitely estranged growing up. So basically, a single mother. They didn't have a lot of money, and so her mom basically just brought her around and tried to support her dream. She is half Ecuadorian, half white. Her mom is the white one, and she was in the Mickey Mouse Club, obviously, growing up. She has dated several people, but now is married to a guy who is not famous at all. In fact, I can't even tell you his name. Maybe they got divorced. I don't really remember. I know she was married at one time though, to an average person. I actually can't remember anyone she's dated that's famous. So maybe she likes to be the star, which I understand.
Stop. Beautiful.
Okay, so all of us have seen enough time travel movies in this lifetime, or to last us a lifetime. Enough time travel movies to last us a lifetime, you know? But in today's new segment, we are going to do a bit of it ourselves. This is
Let's rewrite history. So, in the case of today's theme, we will be discussing a moment in pop culture history that we wish we could rewrite and how we would rewrite some of the wrongs in the past.
Yes, and because we just talked about Amanda Bynes with me, Hannah, I think you should start so that we go a little bit along this theme for the transition of what this is.
Okay, I'm glad I didn't add on to this before, but to add on to it, I think all of the trauma that she had dealt with, even in my whole entire thing is to talk about the trauma that the Disney and Nickelodeon kids went through while they were child actors on these shows, because each and every single one of them went through so much trauma, whether that be because they were overworked or they were abused on set by all of the executives, like Dan Schneider being one of them. That's Nickelodeon guy. But there was a lot of stuff with whether the Amanda Show, all that, Zoe 101, like so many different things. However, Amanda Bynes specifically, I think really was set through the ringer because her being the it girl of everything. I feel like she kind of probably got a lot of the same treatment that Megan Fox received whenever she was younger, because she was looked at kind of whenever she was in her early 20s as the sex symbol to the older crowd and the people who were in there, like the executives and people who were bringing her on for these things. And that can really fuck with you. And also just being the child star and with being abused, she also hung out with the crowds like Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton and these people who were partying like fucking crazy, and her home life wasn't that great. Her parents were stealing money from her is what I had read, so much so to the point where she went on this emotional rampage because she was broke. Like she had no more money left because her parents were taking it from her. And this was all the money she had made since she was a fucking child. Like imagine being put on a set at the ripe age of like 5 or 6 years old, having to learn all. I mean, great. No, I think she was like in her teens. She was probably
13.
Like, okay, well, even then, like you're just hitting you may just be hitting puberty, or like have just gone through it.
You don't get to go to school. You don't get to like have a life. You don't. All you do is work.
Exactly. You're knocked out of school. All you have to do is learn these lines and entertain these people, and like you're learning new things, and you're learning new things about life, and a good work ethic, I guess, in a sense. But even then you're being so overworked that it's exhausting, and at that point it's child abuse. And especially if you don't even get a piece of anything that you're actually working so hard for, that can fucking deteriorate you. And it, like, she was into a lot of different drugs, and I'm pretty sure she had a drinking problem at one point, and I think that had to do with the depression and the anxiety that went into, or like the trauma that she had dealt with being a child actor and essentially being raised in Hollywood and under the eyes of all of these fucking crazy people that were in charge of Hollywood in the late 90s and early 2000s, which were all these old white men who were taking advantage of these young kids and these young women. And now Amanda is like in her recovery era. She has a podcast. She still has the heart tattoo on her face, but like if you follow her on TikTok, she's out and about, like telling about her hair journey now. She, like, you can tell that she's really trying to heal herself, and not, I wouldn't necessarily say redeem, because I don't think that there's anything that needs to be redeemed on her end. I think that she just really went through a hard mental crisis because of all of the trauma that she had dealt with growing up. Yeah, Amanda Bynes was one of them, Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton, the entire cast of Zoe 101 for the most part, specifically one girl, and I'm completely blanking on her fucking name.
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know her
I
name
believe
either.
she plays the character Quinn, I believe. Or no, she went off of the show after a while, and I can't even quite remember the character. It's been so long, but there's so many different people, and Lindsay Lohan is one that has really had a good comeback as of recently. Like, she looks so healthy. She just had a baby. She's married. Like, she went from child star to party girl to disappeared to like rehab, and then back to partying in Dubai and Greece and Mykonos, and like all these, like, really had these nightclubs and raves. And now she's married with a kid, and she's making movies again. I'm pretty sure her and Jamie Lee Curtis are making another Freaky Friday from what I heard recently. So that's fun. Paris Hilton went through the fucking ringer. Granted, she grew up, for lack of a better term, a nepotism baby. However, she went through a lot of trauma because of the fucking wilderness camp that her parents had put her in, because, like, I mean, she even, I think, she spoke about it before on a I think an episode of Call Her Daddy, as well as a couple other podcasts, and I believe she either talks about it on her show, or she has a documentary coming out about it.
It already came out. Yeah.
Oh,
it came out like a couple years ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go. Watch the documentary about it. But there are so many people who were children in the late 90s and early 2000s who had gone through so much, who are now making a comeback or trying to make a comeback. Now they're bringing light and awareness to everything, which I think is so important, because it just will help in the long run
help rewrite the future kids' histories.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty obvious who the fuck I'm going to talk about.
Our girl Brit.
Here she is. Gorgeous.
It's Brittany, bitch.
It's Brittany, bitch. I was so much younger, obviously, than the beauteous Bit Brit, which is what her friends and her family called her. At least that's what all the teen mags that we spoke about earlier said. You know, when they have the little, what is your nickname? She would always put that as her nickname. I did not know the true impact that she had on a generation of girls who needed another wave of it's my body and I can do whatever I want with it, because I was so young that I was not thinking about sexuality or anything at this time, obviously, like she was when she was a teenager. I think she's like 9 years older than me or something. I'm more of like a Jamie Lynn. Jamie Lynn was more of my age. So especially now looking at the differences between even how her and Justin were treated so differently at the time, which I didn't notice as a younger kid. Obviously, I'm noticing now more. But even though she was like the Southern girl, like next door, who was seen as like the sweet one of the pop princesses, I will say, Christina was like the bitchier one or whatever the hell, and Jessica was the like religious one and whatever it was. She still stood up for herself a lot at that time than I think people expected her to. And the first thing that I would rewrite about Britney's career, which may be very controversial for everybody listening, is that I would not have made her first single Baby One More Time. I would not have made her first single Baby One More Time, because I think it set the tone for sexualizing her at a really young age, because the whole thing is hit me baby one more time, my loneliness is killing me. Okay. And what people who are older than us, because an older man, Max Martin, wrote like most of her songs, and of course, he was a hit maker. And I'm not saying anything bad about Max Martin, but for a girl who was 15 years old, maybe, I mean, the insinuation in this is like she wants to get fucked one more time, is what they're saying, because she's so lonely. She needs the dick, is what I'm getting from this. Okay. But she's so young. Like this doesn't, it doesn't necessarily
resonate.
It doesn't necessarily make any sense. And then of course we have her, what she thought was an amazing, which is an amazing and iconic video of her being a schoolgirl and whatever. But then it also plays into the sexualizing of older men fucking like young girls who are schoolgirls, like a role play scenario. And so whether obviously her in her young age did not know that that is exactly what was happening, but I think that I would have picked even Crazy, because that can say she's boy crazy, you know what I mean? Or even sometimes like, oh, sometimes I'm running away from you and sometimes I'm scared of you, and whatever. It's a little bit more innocent as far as like what could, I'm not saying that Baby couldn't have been one of her singles later on, obviously, but I just think that that one in specific set like the tone of like her career, unfortunately, even if it did make her very famous. We have to talk about her interview with Diane Sawyer, because nope, no Diane Sawyer, no, give her to Oprah. Okay. Diane has like the same energy as like my white grandmother, which is very like judgy and jealous of youth. Okay. That's what Diane is giving in this interview. She's jealous of youth and beauty, and she just wants to she shames her like entirely the same. And also for an interviewer who is used to seeing like emotions come out of people and also doing follow-up questions and whatever on these emotions, she takes this girl who is literally like breaking down in front of her and continues to push her in this direction where she makes her feel worse and worse and worse and worse over the course of this. Like, how could you break this boy's heart? And all the, like, all the, puts every single thing on her while this girl is like fighting back tears. She's literally like, you can see in her hands, you can see in her body language, you could see in her face, is she could see her teeth clenching, like deciding whether she should say certain things or not. Also, now that we've read the book, we know that her and Justin's relationship, she had to have an abortion in her fucking bathroom, and which was very dangerous, and basically like was like bleeding out in her bathroom, and all of these things that were so traumatic for her. And Justin now is basically making fun of her in all of his videos and saying, oh, she cheated on me and all of these things, when we found out that he cheated on her a million times and she never said shit about it. So it's just Oprah. Oprah gives I'm a boss bitch who don't need to be married. I just need my best friend Gail for life. Like she, I got a power suit for every day of the week. Oprah would have dug so much more in a direction that showed her in a more like emotional light, where we could have liked her even more for these things that happened to her, and maybe even got down to some of the truth. I think Oprah honestly could have got something out of her that we've now found out later on that like we wouldn't Diane would have never got, and she never did.
Oprah got Harry and Meghan. If she could get Britney, or if she could have gotten Britney, I feel like a lot of this would have never happened. Like the conservatorship.
I know.
Like,
we're rewriting.
yeah.
We're rewriting. Yeah. The next thing is, I just feel like Oprah would have like exposed some of the mistreatment that she had, because she feels like a safer person to speak to. The next thing is K-Fed, arrest this fucking man. Arrest his ass. Okay? Arrest him. Someone around her needed to frame his ass or something to get more info out of him to make sure that he did not get full custody of these children. Okay. Because I do not believe that this man should be raising these two boys basically on his own now. I think that now that I'm older, the fact that her children were taken away from her at like such a young age, any mother would have gone like crazy. It like, especially because it's not like she didn't have enough money to raise them. It's not like she didn't have enough time. It's like the only reason why she didn't have enough time or these other things is because she was getting yanked around and controlled by all these other people. But if it were up to her, I guarantee she would have just been like, no. And we found out also in the book, she wanted to take time away. She didn't want to tour as much. She wanted to spend time with her kids, all of these things. And then instead of that, they just made her do everything she didn't want to do and then ripped her kids away from her, which is cruel and insane. And also, I just feel like she could not care for them how she wanted to care from them because of like the paparazzi and stuff as well. And watching all that footage back now is like really heartbreaking. And I think, once again, I will say it a million times, but because we were so young at the time, I didn't really understand. I think at the time in my head, I was like, oh, she seems like she's lost it,
I think all of us did.
Yeah, because that's how it was.
That was
portrayed.
the narrative.
Yeah. And so, yeah. So Britney also, this is something that isn't talked about a lot, but the true Brit fans know, Britney also had an entire album that was never released, which was entirely recorded and everything, a lot of which she had written during like this time during the conservatorship. And she went into a lot of her mistreatment and how she felt about it in these songs that were never released, which was the reason why they were never allowed to be released. Some of the lyrics have been leaked somehow since then, like even in the past like 10 years or so. But I wish to heavens that this would have came out. In fact, I wish that her album that comes out next, like her like comeback album, would have some of these songs on them, because people love to dive into what lyrics are about. And I think that in like what songs mean, the subliminal messages in the songs, especially if they have a huge army of people that follow them like Britney did. And so I think her team knew this, and that's why they never let them come out, because they would have found out a lot of this stuff before even social media was huge or anything, because they would have known that something was up. So I would let her, if I was rewriting history, this fucking album would have came out. And the last thing that I will say is that I truly believe that even a bit of one of these things could have entirely changed the course of Britney's life. Like if any of these things had happened differently that I've just spoke about, the road that she was led down, I feel like is now a really hard one to come back from, and will take tons of time and therapy and who knows how many, she was on so many drugs, and some of those drugs can have long lasting or even lifetime effects. Sometimes she may never be the same after all of this. Unfortunately, it's something I have had to deal with as a fan. I'm like, she may never be back, but I'm just glad that she is working on her relationships that she's had in the past and is more happy now. I just wish that we as a society had the ability to enjoy like our artists' creations without consuming like their every action. However, I do realize that this is an episode of pop culture, and if we didn't do that, then we literally wouldn't have
this episode.
Like we wouldn't have, none of this would exist. But I think the way that we are doing it is very dangerous, and so I gotta pull back a little bit on this.
Reel it in.
Yeah. So,
well, since we do love to end on a positive note, Let's Hear It for the Girls is usually a segment where we shout out the female identifying people in film and TV that you, the listeners, should know about.
However, in today's episode, we'll be shouting out females that we've looked up to in our lifetime that have changed the entertainment industry, not only through their work on screen, on or behind cameras, but for moments in pop culture.
Miley motherfucking Cyrus. Gotta chat about her. This girl went through, I mean, she's been in the public eye since she was quite literally born, because she is the daughter of none other than Billy Ray Cyrus and Queen Tish Cyrus. We cannot forget Miss Tish, because that girl is popping the fuck off right now, as she should. But Miley has made such, I mean, not only was she Hannah Montana, but she has made such iconic and pivotal music over the course of the years. And she went through such a public and toxic relationship with Liam Hemsworth, and like that led to divorce, which now she is in a happy, healthy relationship. She won her first Grammy. She performed at the Grammys. She looked fucking insane and gorgeous, but she has fought so much scrutiny and judgment over the years, whether that be from different performances that she had over the course of the Bangers era, whenever that was a thing, because that's whenever she was like deep in her pain and going through all the emotions of the first ending with Liam Hemsworth and like their first breakup. And she really got a lot of shit in the public eye because she kind of went this like party girl, like had her party phase. But if you think about it, like she's early 20s. That's like,
we all had that.
Everybody had that. Every single,
we just didn't have as much money to do it.
Well, not only that, we weren't in the public eye.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying
nobody would get that much scrutiny or anything within that. But she really changed the narrative for herself and has been such an advocate for women and the LGBTQ plus community, and also an advocate for cannabis and so many
Which
other.
Hannah loves.
I love weed. We know this. Dolly Parton is her godmother, which fucking iconic. Like, what? But she really came out on top, and she fought the good fight, and I think she's still fighting the good fight for women and female identifying people everywhere, and the gay community. And she just is a fucking powerhouse within every single thing that she does.
And so talented. Well, I'm just talking about all my favorites today, and I have to go back to the very beginning. The original person who influenced everything, which I have not talked about. And the reason why she influenced everything for me is because she was my mother's idol. Okay. And oftentimes I feel like whoever your parents like really looked up to ends up being a huge influence on you straight from birth, because who do you like? Who do you listen to? What your parents make you listen to when you're first born, and then you can develop kind of your own stuff. But I am, of course, talking about the queen of pop, Miss Madonna herself. And, I have to talk about Madonna also because she is a Michigan girl, and I am from Michigan. So I'm going to be talking about her documentary, Truth or Dare, which happened like 30 years ago now, which is crazy to me. And I was a teeny tiny, I literally just been born, essentially. But, I was always obsessed with Madonna. And when this came out in the early 90s, I of course did not watch it because that would have been inappropriate, but I watched it later on. It ended up being the highest grossing documentary for over a decade after that. That's how influential this was. Not only was it huge in like the feminist movement for strength and independence in women during the 90s, but also in sexuality for women, because she was very open about her sexuality in it, and also the sexuality of the different people who were on tour with her, which happened to be a lot of the gay community. And at this time, we were kind of we were coming off of a little bit of the height of the AIDS pandemic, which we were going into. So there was a lot of awareness going on around some of that. And even I remember in the documentary, she even dedicates like one of the shows to someone who she knew who died from AIDS. And a lot of her backup dancers were gay. So they were all talking about it and the impact of like humanizing these individuals who greater society like currently feared, because a lot of people feared gay people in general because stupidly they thought that everyone, just because you were gay, that you possibly had AIDS. And also a lot of people thought that AIDS could be transmitted by touch. So they didn't even want, they were being weird about even like bumping into somebody who was gay or whatever, which baffles my mind. But this was a different time. So Madonna, even in the film, beyond even just gay men who were her dancers, she talks to one of her friends who was on tour with her, who was a lesbian as well, about her relationship with another woman. And I feel like even to this day, lesbian representation is more seen as more of a trope of like, ooh, that's so sexy, like for the male gaze of two women being together, and not so much about like the actual relationship they have, but just like seeing the sex that they have. And so this was one of the first times, in very popular culture that we got to see like kind of a lesbian relationship. And also there were people on her tour. I mean, this film did not age well, I will say, because there are people on her tour who are homophobic and actually admit to being homophobic on camera, on the documentary, and saying that they don't want to be around these, FAGs and all of these things back in the day. But now, since like after the documentary, have been interviewed and stuff and been like this, be even just being surrounded by these people and seeing how they lived and who they are and growing to love them actually made me love this community. So it is really just a testament, not that I'm saying that homophobia is ever a good thing or that we should show it, but I think that surrounding yourself, even just being exposed to these people, can really humanize them. And whether it's exposed to these people through watching a film that you otherwise wouldn't be exposed to, which is exactly why we put queer characters in our film and TV today, you can grow to love these people the more that you know about them, and the more that you know that has nothing to do with them fucking the opposite sex, right? Because you realize that these people are exactly the same as you and I. They have hearts, they have heartbreaks, they go through struggles, whether it be through their work, through their life, through money issues, whatever it is. And so I think that, this Madonna has showed me how to be a role model. She has showed me, she's shown generations after me that I never had to be also like people that other people wanted me to be, that I could be anybody that I wanted to be on any singular day. And I didn't have to portray a certain character. I could just choose who I wanted to be, because she is the bitch of reinvention. And so I've always wanted to be like her. And I still, to this day, I know she looks literally insane now, but I still really look up to her and thinks that she is changing what we think about older generations of women too now, to this day.
I didn't write this one down, but as we were talking about it earlier in the episode, I realized I wanted to change one of mine. So I'm going to talk about Cher, the queen. She, I feel like, has really set the standard for women everywhere who just kind of want to be their own person. I think she really broke barriers to set the course for women to speak their mind and be independent and not have to feel like they have to rely on a man or another person to either push them forward or to even just like live their lives. Specifically,
just like in the quote in my bathroom.
Correct.
What is it?
Mom, isn't it Mom, I am a rich man? Yeah. Yeah, that's
her
the one that I was
says,
just about to.
When her mom is like, you need to marry a rich man.
She said, Mom, I am a rich man. Yeah. Correct. We're all rich men. We're all just rich, which may not be the case right now, but we will get there. I think that Cher really just set the course. And not only is she this incredibly talented musician and this fashion icon, because she also just, her outfits in the 80s and the like 70s and
even now,
even like she still is wearing Bob Mackie to this day, and Bob Mackie is such an incredible designer, which like if you watched the Grammys and you saw Miley's performance, she was wearing a Bob Mackie dress that I believe was from a collection in the 80s. But oh my God, that's Cher's favorite designer. And she also is such a big advocate for the LGBTQ plus community, on top of being such a supporter for women, that like not only is she an icon within the world of music, she's such an incredible actress, and like also an icon in the world of film and TV, and an icon and advocate for women and the gays and the theys and the she's and he's everywhere.
Hundo P. Honestly, I feel like I know Cher more for what she has done in her life than for any song. I couldn't even tell you like a bunch of Cher songs. Like no, I don't even believe in love after love. That's like the only Cher song I know. I'm just saying, like I know more about her as a person and what she believes in than I know about like her actual work.
Right.
And that's,
I think that says wonders about her as a person. Isn't she also an animal activist?
I believe so, yes. Women care about things.
Correct.
Okay? That's what we're getting at here. They care about other things besides themselves. They care.
Correct.
You know?
Who's
well,
next?
Okay. So to end us off here, I am going to go back to our girl, Christina Aguilera, which is, Hannah's Pennsylvania gal. So Christina was a little girl with a big voice who was on Star Trek like the rest of them. I feel like everybody was on Star Trek back in the day. Is it Star Trek?
Mickey Mouse?
Search? No, Star Search.
Oh, Star Search. I was like,
Star Search.
She was not on Star Trek. I was like, that is, you're going way off.
No, she was
Christina Aguilera on Star Trek.
She was on the spaceship. No, Star Search. Star Search was like their American Idol back then,
right?
Basically. So she was on Star Search like the rest of them. She went on to be on the Mickey Mouse Club, as we mentioned earlier. And during that time, her Latina side was never really highlighted. She was just Christina on there because they only went by like their first names. And so for me, she was one of the first huge stars that I knew about that was a mixed kid. And being a girl who was also half Latina and half white, I felt seen for the first time. I know, we had Selena Gomez later and Demi Lovato later, but like when I was a little girl, it was Christina Aguilera. Even if she had paler skin than mine and blonde hair and blue eyes. So she looked absolutely nothing like me, but she still had the half that I had and the other half that I had. So I found it so interesting later in life that she had fought to keep her last name as Aguilera when so many record executives wanted her to change it. She was estranged from her father at the time, as we mentioned, whose name it was, and yet she thought it was so important that she hold on to like her Ecuadorian roots. And so I really admired that because as such a young girl too, you would think that she would have been malleable enough to, like at 16 years old to be like, yeah, I'll do whatever you say if I can be famous. But no, she was very adamant on, nope, I'm Christina Aguilera. I'm keeping Christina Aguilera. That's my name. That's what I've always been. And I'm sticking with that. So much so that her second studio album was a Spanish speaking album, which I thought was kind of a wild choice, especially in the like the current climate that we were in. Like, Shakira had kind of started coming out. Shakira had always been huge, by the way, in Latin America. However, in the US, she was just starting to pick up some traction. Obviously, we had Ricky Martin and whatever it was, but
Iglesias.
Yes, but I think it was kind of like a huge risk for someone who looked like her to be like, you know what, I'm going to come out with a Spanish album. And because for me, even especially being a mixed kid who looks white, I would have been terrified that people would have dragged me to high heaven looking like her putting out this album. And so for those of you who also don't know my journey in this industry in film and TV, I've actually been prompted several times to change my last name from my father's name to my mother's. Although in this case, it is the reverse of the reasoning why people wanted her to change her last name, which they wanted her to sound more white. In my case, now that diversity reigns king and everybody, is like, oh, we want to hire you because you're diverse and not just because of what you write, which is what it should be. People wanted me to sound more Latin, so they wanted me to take my mother's maiden name. However, the same as Christina, obviously, I am like, this is who I am. This is who I've always been. And no matter if I am that close to my father or not, this is my brand. Either way, both of us like stuck to who we are. And Christina helped me embrace my Latina side, despite that I may not look entirely like it. And then Dirty. We must talk about Dirty. This album was huge in pop culture. This woman literally made herself dirty even in her appearance. Okay. The branding of this was through and through. Everything was dirty. Her hair, darker. Her makeup, darker. She was less done up or pretty or cutesy. Her clothes changed like grungier, smaller, ripped up, fishnetted. The heels were replaced with boots often. Like, she went all in on this, and yet people called her a slut and a stripper, and she did not give a flying fuck. Okay, she got a nose ring, she got an eyebrow ring, she got like whatever this one is, the one that's like underneath your lip.
I forgot what that's called.
Monroe is here, but I can't remember what this one is. But anyways, of course, I love this era as well because it was red, white, gray, and black, which is like my whole like color palette brand essentially. At the same time that she was doing all this, she dropped one of what I think is one of the most influential songs of that time, which was Beautiful. The music video had freaks of all kinds. It had gay men, it had girls being bullied like on the playground for being ugly or fat, what some would perceive as fat. It had someone suffering from an eating disorder. It had goth kids or punk kids in it. It had boys who were not buff enough, who were too skinny. It had cross dressers, anyone who society may not have thought was beautiful, like in the eyes of society, and who were ridiculed for not being so. I actually rewatched it today, and I like literally was crying as I was smiling at the same time, just at how much of a masterpiece that this still is years and years and years and years later. And I don't think that we will ever stop viewing people and judging people over what we think is normal in society. I'm not saying me or we as in us. I'm just saying like as a collective,
as a society as a whole.
Yeah. But it's art like this that makes those of us who do feel different or othered feel seen. And I think that is what is really beautiful. So thank you, Christina, for changing the course of how we feel about ourselves forever.
Queen.
So thanks for getting down and dirty with us in pop culture today. We will have many more Let's stories, including Let's Go Back, Rewrite History, Plot It Out, and Here for the Girls in future episodes, along with several other fun-filled segments and guests, even though I know you love it when it's just us.
In the meantime, make sure to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at OCS Productions. And please, guys, for the love of God, rate us. Rate us a whopping 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. And you know what? Write us a review because we want to hear from you. Yeah, exactly like Kay is doing.
Yeah. Write us. Write us. And we will catch you next time for more She Said,
Let's